The forest was dense with the whisper of the wind, its voice weaving through the tall pines and the thick underbrush. It was a place where nature's untamed forces thrived, where the rules of life and death played out silently, but with great intensity. Few ventured into its depths. It was a world too raw, too unforgiving, but for those who understood its rhythm, it was home. A storm had passed through the night before, and the air still carried the chill of winter's grip. The ground was slick with the remnants of snow, now mixed with muddy patches where the frost had melted away. Birds were quiet, save for the occasional call of a raven. It was one of those rare moments in the forest where the usual cacophony of life seemed muted, as though the world itself was holding its breath. At the edge of the forest, just beyond the tree line, the howls of wolves echoed in the distance. They were a pack, a well-established group that had roamed these woods for years. Led by a fierce alpha, a dark gray wolf named Nira, they were the undisputed rulers of their domain. Their territory stretched for miles, and they were both feared and revered by all creatures that called this forest home. They hunted together, moved together, and lived with a unity that was their strength. This morning, however, something felt different. Nira's keen senses had picked up an unfamiliar scent, one that did not belong in their world. It was the scent of something larger, something stronger than any creature the pack had ever encountered. The pack had gathered at their usual meeting place, a clearing just beyond the dens they had made among the jagged rocks. The wolves were pacing, sniffing the air, and exchanging low growls as they tried to make sense of the intruder's presence. "It's coming closer," Nira's voice broke through the silence, low and dangerous. Her amber eyes glinted as she scanned the edge of the clearing. The younger wolves, eager but unsure, looked to Nira for guidance. Among them was Kalik, a strong young wolf who had earned his place in the pack. He was still learning the intricacies of leadership, but his instincts were sharp. "Do you think it's another wolf pack?" Nira's eyes darkened. "No," she said, her voice steady but heavy with caution. "This scent is different. It's too heavy, too thick. It's not a wolf. We're not dealing with a rival pack." "What then?" Kalik pressed, his fur standing on end. Nira stood still, her ears flicking back and forth as she concentrated. There was no doubt in her mind now. The scent belonged to something far more dangerous than any wolf. "A bear," she muttered. The realization swept through the pack like a wave. Bears were rare in these parts, but they were not unheard of. Massive, powerful creatures, they could be a threat even to the largest wolf packs. They were solitary by nature, often found far from the wolf territories, but now one had wandered too close. Nira's hackles rose, her eyes narrowing. "We need to find it, quickly." The pack set off, moving in the direction of the scent. They were cautious, knowing that a bear was not to be trifled with. The wolves moved in a loose formation, their eyes constantly scanning the forest for any sign of the intruder. Every so often they would hear a distant crack of branches or the rustling of leaves. The bear was still near, still moving through the forest. It wasn't long before they found it. The bear stood in the middle of a clearing, its massive form silhouetted against the pale sky. It was a wild creature, covered in thick brown fur, with powerful claws that could tear through the toughest hide. Its eyes were dark, almost lifeless, as it surveyed the area. It seemed unaware of the wolves' approach, but Nira knew better than to assume it wouldn't react. The pack froze, unsure of how to proceed. Bears were solitary by nature, and a lone bear could be unpredictable, especially in unfamiliar territory. Nira's instinct was to retreat, to leave the bear to its space. But there was something else, something deeper, that gnawed at her. The bear wasn't just a wandering creature, it was acting oddly. The way it moved, the way it stood in the clearing, it felt lost. And that feeling sent a ripple of uncertainty through the pack. "We'll wait," Nira ordered, her voice sharp. "If it's hungry, it will leave the area. If it's injured, we'll have to decide. The pack crouched low, their eyes never leaving the bear. Time stretched, thick with tension, as the strange creature moved in slow, deliberate steps. Calic's muscles tensed as he shifted his weight, and it was clear that he was itching to act. But Nira held him back with a single glance, and then, suddenly, the bear turned. The wolves froze, caught in the creature's gaze. Its eyes, dull and distant, met theirs. It was as though it saw them, but it didn't. Its gaze was empty, as though it was not aware of the daw.